Hi, everybody. This is Lydia, and we're going to wait a little bit for people to start joining in. But you'll notice I have a different format for my broadcast today and kind of a background. Let me explain to you about investigative voices. So, investigative voices is a new venture that I'm running, and the objective is to create informative reports. Many subjects, especially technical subjects, you will see what we call conspiracy videos online, trying to spread fear or disinform people. And some of them sound very convincing, but I do the research to try to uncover the truth about these technologies. And today I want to present to you my latest report. And these reports come out every couple of weeks. And I have a podcast called Investigative Voices with this logo behind me. You put it here. There you go. Um, and they're on Amazon. I also have a website, cloverleaf.pub, which I will put at the bottom here as a link. And you will see my streams have links to these books. So let me talk about Storm Makers, the power of and peril of weather modification. Now, if you're a conspiracy theorist, you've probably been on a lot of websites and uh, posts about weather modification, and you're probably blaming weather modification on all the floods and terrible things that are happening, fires and unusual weather. Other people will blame all of this terrible weather on climate change. Some people blame it on man-made storm modification or weather modification. And this report is going to give you the real information. It's going to explain to you what weather modification can do and what it can't do. So let me start by presenting this book to you. I have a written script here. Yeah, there it is. Okay, can't see it. All right. So today I'm excited to introduce to you to Storm Makers, the power and peril of weather modification. This report uncovers the incredible and sometimes unsettling reality of how humans are manipulating the weather. And this is true. So if you see conspiracy theory videos out there saying they're manipulating the weather, unfortunately, they're not conspiracy theories. It's true. Okay. They may not be presenting it in the right way, or they may have the wrong data or the wrong screenshots, but it's true. Um, Imagine controlling when it rains or stopping hurricanes before they hit land. That's the promise. But with great power comes great responsibility. And that's where the peril comes in. And weather modification is no longer science fiction, guys. From cloud seeding to and you know what, I think I'm going to remove this background. It's really annoying me, so let's see if we can kind of uh, I can't seem to do it, but it's not really working. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right, I don't know how to do that, but next time I don't think I'm going to have the okay. All right. So let's continue. Weather modification is no longer science fiction. From cloud seeding to advanced geoengineering, governments and private companies around the world are altering our atmosphere with powerful technologies. Okay? But while these methods can potentially solve problems like drought or wildfire suppression, they come with a major risk. In fact, what they're doing is quite the opposite. And you saw what happened in Dubai. In Dubai, Dubai was cloud seeding every day. Why were they cloud seeding? Well, their weather system is very dry, and they needed water for the city of Dubai. And the only way to get this water was to find a cloud that would normally rain onto the ocean. Okay, so they're not really hurting anybody. And when they kind of wait until it goes over Dubai, and instead of bypassing Dubai, they go out and they sprinkle it with the magic dust, and it's a series of chemicals. And once they sprinkle it, the rain pours, and it ends up being directed to the reservoir. Okay, so this is something they've been doing for a long time, but sometimes if weather is not stable, either more clouds can come in, or maybe there are too many clouds, or they sprinkle it and too much water comes down, and that water ends up flooding the streets. And that's what happened to Dubai. Well, these are just a few of the case studies that I show you in this report, where negative results have come from sprinkling magic dust on the clouds. On the video here, you see these are the other reports that I do, but if you look at um, this picture here, it shows chemtrails. Okay, and the chemtrails are not something that is a conspiracy theory. They regularly sprinkle chemicals onto clouds to precipitate rain in areas that might be um, somewhat compromised and might be too dry. And they'll do that to sprinkle water onto crops, for example, in areas that are dry. And they regularly do this. However, the problem is that, and I'm moving off script, is that there's no real regulation to this process of rainmaking. Rainmaking is a business, and they'll come and they'll sprinkle the clouds for you to get you water where there is no water and other things. So what happens is you have too many people doing it and not really some major plan or any regulation, and so things can happen. Okay, as far as the hurricane, and a lot of people were saying that they were trying to redirect the hurricane. um, it's not a lie. They were at some point maybe trying to redirect the hurricane to stop it, but and there was evidence that there was some planes trying to either sprinkle it with dry ice or trying to sprinkle it with some other chemicals to see if they could redirect it, because they knew it was going towards Florida. But the last time they did that in 1940s, there was a project called Cirrus Project, in which a plane went up into a hurricane and just sprinkled dry ice into the center of the hurricane. And I think it was about 80 pounds. And he succeeded in moving the hurricane away from Florida, and it ended up going to the Appalachia area. So there was a lot of um, issues with that. It was all over the news. So they now have much more advanced techniques to manipulate weather. And I go through them in this report. You're going to find out about all the techniques that they have, all the chemicals that they use, how they spread these chemicals. They might do it from airplanes, they can do it from drones, they can do it by shooting it up into the sky with some sort of a rocket, small rocket, or that goes high up and unleashes this material. Many ways to do weather modification, and they're not experimental anymore. They're very successful at doing it, and they are doing it in every state of the United States. They're doing it all over the world, and that's why the UN is having uh, a conference to regulate this worldwide, because you could end up with weather wars, or in some cases, you're already having them, where some people see the clouds get the water and other people don't get the water. So, in this report, what I do is explain it to you in a way that anyone can understand it. So, if you're a regulator, a politician, if you're a student, you can understand storm making and what the good things and the bad things about it, and what needs to be done to regulate this, and why we may have had some floods that were a direct result of this weather modification. Okay. Um, this report is essential if you are wondering what's the deal. Are these conspiracy theorists right? Are they wrong? Is this just all a lie, or is it just natural? Well, no, they conspiracy theorists are right in many senses because the data shows it. Let me explain to you about my reports, and I'm going to go through some of the reports that I do. The first report I did for Investigative Voices reports is the one called Crime Against Humanity, Government Corruption, Floods of Appalachia. And this book uncovers um, a real government corruption that has caused the deaths of thousands of people in Appalachia, in the actual media cover up. And there is a media cover up. I'm not making this up. Everything in these reports, I use sophisticated AI to do the research. That means that it's the equivalent of me having 25 or 30 researchers at my disposal to research all kinds of databases of information, whether it be Google, whether it be other search engines, and go into those reports or articles, and even academic articles and news reports, and extract all the information and organize it for you. This is an, an amazing task, and it wouldn't have been possible to do without AI. And I'm an expert at running AI to do this. So in this one, I uncover the real crime, what happened, and why were these people flooded out. And unfortunately, the truth is not something that I wanted to report, but it led to this issue, and um, it led to this issue. And yeah, the government was corrupt, and the government forgot to do some things. Dams opened up and flooded a lot of people, but there should have been some warnings. There should have been evacuations weeks before, because this was not just a problem of that day, but there is a media cover up. And when I say media cover up, I'm not just guessing at this. I had the AI go through every article that came out during the flood, after the flood for days, analyze each article, and determine if there was a cover up. And unfortunately, AI is a robot. It doesn't lie. And it told me, yes, these articles were biased and there was a cover up. I also did a search of all the articles that were local to those people, newspapers, all kinds of organizations, local newspapers especially did a good job of reporting, and those were not biased. So the mainstream media was biased for an obvious reason. There was an election, and they didn't want it to look bad on the candidate, particularly the one that they prefer, which is usually the Democrat candidate. So unfortunately, we in the country were not told the truth of what was really happening. And if we wanted to know what really happened, we had to go to TikTok or to the local newspapers to find out the truth. And that's exactly what I did and prepared this report. It's over 100 pages. And all the reports, by the way, sell on Amazon or on my website, which I'll give you. And they're all available for a download or print. And they're all the same price. They're $25 each, all the reports, because it takes a good amount of time to prepare. Even with AI, it does take a lot of time to prepare these reports, to organize them, to verify all the information. But you're getting a serious report. Everything is linked to actual references, and I make sure the references are not references that are iffy. I have AI filter out references that may not be reliable. Okay, and or they maybe just have misinformation in them. So that takes also a lot of work and a lot of effort. The one I just talked about, the storm makers, talks about all of the weather control manipulation that is taking place completely without any oversight and completely without any regulations. People just go up on their planes and sprinkle stuff in the air without anybody caring or listening. And we don't know what they're sprinkling. I mean, they're supposed to sprinkle certain chemicals, potassium iodide, some others, but we don't know what they're sprinkling. Okay, it could be dry ice, it could be some salts, it could be anything. Because all you have to do is put a particle up there, and the ice kind of attaches to it and it precipitates rain. So there's no real regulation on what they're sprinkling up in the air. And there's no regulation on anyone could do this. Anyone with a license to dust crop could do it. Okay. So there's nobody looking up there to see what you're doing, except for maybe you putting it on internet and saying, "Oh, I saw chemtrails," and they're going, "Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist." Actually, the UN disagrees. The UN says no, there are people doing this that shouldn't be doing it, and we have no way to stop them. So this kind of the report on storm makers kind of scared. I went out there thinking, "Oh, these people are conspiracy theorists. It's not that bad," and I scared myself with this report because when I found out the data, I was like, "Oh my God, this is terrible. They're sprinkling stuff up in the air and they're manipulating the weather, and they're doing it so much that they're starting to create." Like a domino theory, it just gets worse and worse, and you get big floods and big problems. So this is an essential report because it gives you all of the data, all of the organizations involved, all of the case studies, anything you need if you want to fight this in your town, in your state, if you're a student of this, if you're just following this topic, you're going to get pretty much everything you need in here. In this one, you have a lot of information. And the other one that I did in climate change is a very it's the kind of topic that people. Let me go back here. Oh, sorry, I can't get it on my pass. All right. It's the kind of topic that's so controversial because it has been so politicized. And so this topic of climate change It's been so politicized, and there's so many lies involved, and there have many more reports coming about the lies involved in climate change, that I said, I got to do some research to find out the truth about this. What is real and what isn't real? And my God, what I found out, I did research for 3 weeks using AI and found articles that nobody can find. The reason nobody can find these articles is because when it comes to climate change, that's a trigger keyword for Google or any other politicized search engine. And that means you can't really use that search engine. So AI has to use a different search engine. And we have to go through things like academic research and other sources of information. It's hard work. You have to give it instructions on how to detect political propaganda, how to detect conspiracy theories, how to detect information that's not reliable. And I do all of that. I have all those programs that are part of my AI interface. So when I get information, this is reliable information from scientists, from articles, from case studies. And the climate change hoax or reality, I'm not going to tell you which one it is. You're going to have to read the report to make up your mind for yourself. But I could tell you that the information I found out is pretty much damning. It is a highly politicized, it's so politicized that it no longer really a scientific term. If you're going to use a terminology, you have to use other terminology rather than these keywords, climate change, because climate change means absolutely nothing. The climate on Earth has always been changing and it will continue to change forever. It's, anything from ice ages to volcanoes to changes in rotation of the Earth. I mean, magnetic poles, all kinds of things are happening all the time. So to say the word climate change and not attach it to why it's changing is a meaningless term. It's not a scientific term. I think it's a political term to try to label legislation related to climate change. And the problem with climate change, and it's so politicized, is because the proponents of climate change have decided what the solution to it is. But these people have not decided the solution based on any kind of scientific data. They've decided they have some data to show that there might be climate change. And based on questionable data, which is also revealed in the report about the problems with the data, they decided what the answers are, what the solution is going to be. And they have never tested this solution. This is totally an experimental solution. They do not know by any sort of testing that these solutions they're implementing will actually work, or will they make climate change worse. As an example, one of the climate change solutions is geoengineering. And let's go back to this report, Stormmakers. They believe that by changing the weather, you could change um, what they perceive as a warming of the earth, which they perceive that to be the issue with why storms behave the way they do. First of all, they do not know if the warming of the earth, which is very small, is actually a result of the inputs from man that they claim are there. Okay. And that's revealed in the report. They don't know. There could be other reasons, and there are many other reasons the earth could be warming, and that gives you a whole array of reasons, including plate tectonics, which is something that is happening right now. You have cracks in the earth and in different continents, and people are all upset about it, but there's nothing you can do. The earth has been doing that for that's what the earth does. Okay, it moves around. So nothing's permanent with the earth. The climate is not permanent. The earth is moving around, the oceans are fluctuating. So it's hard to accept that instability on earth, and you have to blame it on something. Some people apparently think to make money out of all this instability, because this instability causes fear, and so you can sell them anything. At this point, they think a windmill is going to help, or they think a solar panel is going to help, or they might think that sprinkling dust on the clouds to make it rain is going to help. But the fact is, we don't know if any of this is going to help. All these things cost a lot of money. They also think paying taxes is going to help. More taxes, the more help. These people apparently cannot manage to stop a dam from cracking and drowning a lot of people, uh, because that's what happened here. They couldn't stop the waters in the dams from drowning a lot of people, and that's in this situation of crime against humanity about the floods in Appalachia. But somehow they think that if you pay more taxes, you're going to stop plate tectonics, you're going to stop ice ages, you're going to stop all kinds of natural processes that are happening right now. Ice melts, which are part of the ice age cycle as well. And you're going to use dubious data with very little backup of this data, just few readings and some conclusions, to charge enormous amounts of money to people already that are in trouble financially, and start controlling food production and other things on a theory that these things are going to help stop climate change, which is an enormous, abysmal conclusion. You can never stop climate change, because natural processes changing the climate will never be changed by man. And at best, you could change a very small portion of it. And it's definitely not something that you could attempt to think you're going to halt climate change. But again, hoax or reality, you got to read the report. There's a lot of data in it, a lot of information, all taken from research reports. We go deep into the data that was taken in the history of what used to be global warming, as started by Al Gore in the past. And I remember Al Gore. He's still around though. And today. So this is an interesting report, and it's also great if you're doing research for school, for example. If you want to write a paper on climate change, you can read all. You can actually do a pro and a con report, a balance report, because if you go into your regular Google and you Google the first 5 pages, you're going to get all kinds of people turning climate change into a religion and saying that if you don't believe in it, you're a climate change denier, using the terminology used for the Holocaust, which is just so horrific that they can use that terminology to try to prove their point. A denier. I mean, that's insane. So this is not, this is a balanced report. It has all the information, but it gives a voice to the people that have been saying that a lot of the climate change legislation is wrong, and it's abusive of people, and that it's not based on solid science. And then, but it does give you the science. It tells you, yeah, what things are true about it, and what things we may expect from the climate change. So these are the 3 reports. You can find them on my website. I have one that just came out on HARP. HARP is another way to control the weather, the ionosphere, and that one's a pretty nice report if you are interested in HARP, HAARP, and what that agency does in Alaska, and what their network is. I don't have the cover here, but yeah, that agency, that report is quite long, and it has all the information you'll ever need about HARP and the references, because I always attach extra references to the end so that you can go look for them yourself. This way, you don't have to do the searching and searching and searching through engines. You have all the URLs. You can just cut and paste them in. If you use the ebooks, you can cut and go directly to them. If you get a print one, you could just basically type them in, and it saves you a lot of time in research, and it gets you started if you want to become an expert on these topics. Of course, on HARP, for example, on that book, I have a whole list of places where you can take free courses in that topic and become an expert at it, and even from big universities. So these reports, I have many more that I'm writing. As I said, I'm an AI expert, and I use AI to research these reports into areas where you normally would probably get the propaganda and not the actual research, because it takes enormous amount of work to go through all those pages and figure out which is a good article and which isn't. You know, so so that's the end of today's. I wanted to invite you to start reading these reports. I think the Storm Makers is a good one to start with, because that, um, you know, is something you see all the time on the internet, and people speculating about storm makers, saying they're purposely doing this to ruin your day. But you'll get the truth here. You'll get what's good and bad about this technology, and whether it has merits, whether it needs to be developed further, whether it needs some regulation. All of these things are in this report. So watch for the links on the bottom of these, and watch and subscribe to my channels. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe to the Cloverleaf Publications report. I also have podcasts. This whole report video, it's going to go onto a podcast, and usually I'm going to do them around this time, which is close to 3:30 to 4 o'clock. So I'm on Facebook. I'm going to be on LinkedIn and YouTube right now with these reports, and then there's the podcasts, which are um, they are um, distributed through normal podcast channels, including YouTube as well. So you have, I'm going to be trying to do these reports once a week. And right now, I'm only available once a week to do the live podcasts. I'm going to be touching on these subjects. So subscribe, follow me, and let me know if there are any topics that you would like to know more about and you would like me to do a report, and I'll put it on the list, because I right now have about 10 that I'm working on for these technical reports. Thank you very much. By the way, they're very inexpensive. Reports like this usually cost over $100. I'm giving them away practically for 25 because I want to get more followers. But these reports are substantial. They're substantial. They're over 120 pages each. They have a lot of text in them, a lot of research. And I think you're going to find these references, especially if you're in high school, if you're a teacher, if you are a politician, if you're a legislator, you're going to find these reports very useful. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody. And again, subscribe and like these videos.